What's up, folks? In this video, I want to address the top 3 reasons why you may be struggling to progress as a beginner. So without further ado, let's start with the first, lack of consistency. I think a lot of you already know how important consistency can be for not just lifting, but many things in life. However, a lot of you don't realize how important it is to progress. A lot of beginners seem to see intermediate or advanced lifters and go, oh, wow, you have great genetics, or oh, wow, you must train really hard. Yes, but also a lot of these intermediate and advanced lifters got out of the beginner phase just by being consistent. I've seen numerous people train, and even though they don't look amazing, they look great. A lot of the times their training isn't even optimal, not even close, but they train hard and they train consistently 3, 4 days a week without fail, years on end, nonstop. And these are the people that will get out of the beginner phase, regardless of how they train. So my advice is, instead of worrying about whether or not your workout program is optimal or whether or not you're training with the right time under tension, worry more about getting into the gym 4 days a week. If anything, I think that's the first way to progress is make sure that you mark on your calendar how many times you train a week. If you're not training 3 times a week, chances are you're not progressing as well as you could be. You might be able to even get away with twice a week. And obviously, if you're a beginner who's never trained before, getting into the gym once or twice a week is perfectly fine. The key part is you consistently go once or twice a week, because I still believe that you're going to beat the person who trains maybe 4 or 5 times a week, but only maybe every couple of weeks. And then they go on a holiday, take a week off, and then that week off becomes 2 or 3, etc. Now, moving on to the second reason, your diet. A lot of beginners struggle with diet, and I understand. It's a lifetime of habits that you've accrued, and it's not easy to change over time, but it's doable when you're consistent. You have to just change minor things over time. Don't be in a rush. Be consistent. When you're consistent, it's going to make things a lot easier. Now, obviously, there's a lot of information out there about dieting, and I'm not here to give you diet advice, at least not in this video. I'm also not a nutritionist or dietitian, so I wouldn't really give specific recommendations, but you can stick to the basics. 0.5 to 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight is roughly enough. Eat the prerequisite amount of carbs you need to fuel your exercise. Depending on your weight goals, that will be different. Fats you can keep at a relatively moderate level and stick to that. Do that over long periods of time, and you're probably going to see progress as a beginner. Now, a lot of people say, oh, but eating healthy is really difficult. I eat out, I do this and whatnot. Yes, it's not easy, but there's definitely ways you can counteract that. When I eat out with my friends, I generally try and pick higher protein meals and the healthier ones, but that takes a long period of time to adjust towards. Initially, it wasn't easy, but after a couple months, it started getting easier and it becomes more natural. You're going to sometimes pick the salad over eating that lasagna. And I'm not telling you to avoid lasagna. Lasagna is great. Just have less of those and more of the good stuff like fruits, vegetables, protein, lean protein, etc., etc. Yes, there's a lot of psychology involved in eating habits, and there's plenty of books out there on that. I'm not going to touch on that. If you're really struggling, I would recommend speaking to a psychologist or a counselor regarding eating disorders as well as poor eating habits. Hopefully, they can help you get onto the right track, which leads me to macro tracking as well. In my opinion, I think everyone should try to macro track for at least 3 to 6 months just to get an idea of roughly what you're eating. A lot of people don't actually know what they're putting in their mouths, so they don't even have a clue how many calories they're eating, what macronutrients they're eating. It's really important to do that if you want to progress in the long term and get out of that beginner stage. Now, let's say you've dealt with your diet and you are also consistently going to the gym 3, 4 times a week for the last couple of months, and you're still struggling to progress. Perhaps, number one, you could be doing neither of those things correctly and you're not sure. A lot of people think they're tracking their macros correctly, but they're not. I would highly recommend getting a trainer that knows what they're doing to help you out with this. However, let's assume those two things are done and dusted and you've got them done well, but you're still not really progressing. What could be missing? I think the third reason is that you're not tracking your progress. What do we mean by tracking your progress? It's simple. Whether or not it be getting a small notebook and just writing down what you've done in the gym, that can already help. All you need to do is put down the exercise, the weights, the sets, and reps. Even if you have no idea what you're doing, at the very least, you can get a friend or even a trainer to help you out. You show them what you've done and they can help you identify where the issues are. But generally speaking, if you want to progress when it comes to building muscle, building strength, losing weight, you've got to track what you're doing in the gym. Technically speaking, for weight loss, it's not as important. But if you want to build muscle and build strength, tracking progress is really important. In order for us to know whether or not you're growing, we have to progressively overload. That's probably a term you've heard thrown around a couple times, or you've heard your friends talk about it. It's not jargon. Well, it is, but it's really important. Okay. Progressive overload just simply means every time you go to the gym, you're improving. Now, it doesn't have to be every time, but generally speaking, the trend should be heading towards that. I should be able to see in your notebook that last month you did, let's say, a barbell bench press for 40 kilos, 3 sets of 8. Within a month, I should see it go up. It shouldn't be the same or less. If that's the case, you're not progressing. It's that simple. You can start by either just getting a notebook and a pen, write it down. I'm sure you've seen old school guys or girls do it in the gym. You can do that too. If not, we have iPhones now. You can write it down on notes, or even better, on an Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheet that's synced to the cloud, which makes it easier to access, and you should be able to see it. There's also plenty of apps out there now. I use Strong, which is a great app. I pay, I think, about $3 a month, and it's totally worth it. It tells me exactly what I did last session, and generally I want to match that or do better. Now, if you're an advanced lifter, there's obviously many different ways to progress, and you can't progress per session. But as a beginner, you should generally be able to see progression every session. If you're gymming correctly, you should be able to do that. And if you're struggling to see that, I would highly recommend speaking to a friend who's got a lot of experience, or find yourself a trainer or coach. So I hope this video helped y'all. If you have any questions, feel free to message me here, comment below, subscribe, follow me on IG as well, which is in the description. I'm very happy making these videos and grateful if y'all watch them. Please stay tuned for the next one.